Little Brother and Little Sister, a beautiful little story from the Grimm brothers. Hello, my name is Jadwiga, and I'm telling you that story now. Once upon a time, there were two siblings, a little brother and little sister, who lived with their stepmother, who treated them very badly. So one day, little brother took little sister's hand and said, "Listen, since our mother passed away, we didn't have one single happy moment in this house with that woman. She never gives us a friendly word, and the food she gives us is so bad and so poor. Even the dog under the table has a better life than us. So let's just go, because something better than there we'll find anyway." And so the siblings walked away. By the end of the day, they found a hollow tree where they crawled in and slept until late next morning when the sun was already high in the sky. Now, their stepmother, of course, had realized that the children had walked away. And since she was a witch, an evil witch, she had put a spell upon all the springs in that whole area because she knew the children would become thirsty. And so it was. They walked on, and little brother said, "Oh, I'm so thirsty. I need water." And when he found a spring, he just wanted to kneel down to drink, but little sister heard a voice whispering that said, "Who drinks from me will a tiger be." And she said, "Oh, stop, stop, little brother. You will turn into a tiger when you drink from that water. So, and you will eat me up. So please, please don't." And little brother agreed and said, "Well, I wait for the next spring." But when they reached that, little sister heard a voice mumbling, "Who drinks from me will a wolf be." And again she said, "Oh, stop, stop, little brother. You will become a wolf and you will tear me into pieces and eat me up. Don't do that. Don't do that, please." "Well," said little brother, "one more time, but I'm really thirsty, and the next spring, whatever you tell me, I will have water from." And when they reached that spring, little sister again heard a voice saying, "Who drinks from me, a deer will be." And she tried to keep little brother from drinking, but it was too late. He had already kneeled down. He was so thirsty. He had to drink. And once this water came to his lips, he turned into a fawn. Oh, now the two of them were crying, but there was no help. It had happened, and they could not reverse that. So little sister took her golden garter and put it around the neck of little brother of the fawn. And then she made a braid out of weeds, a soft rope to bend little brother so that she could guide him and he would not run away. They walked on for, I don't know, some time when they came to an empty house. Nobody was living there, but everything was fine. So they moved in and thought they could stay there for a while. That worked quite well until one day the king was out for hunting. And little brother, hearing these hunting horns, he jumped up and said, "Let me out, let me out. I have to go there. This is this is important to me. I have to go there." But little sister said, "No, no, I won't let you out because they will hunt you, they will kill you, and then I'm left here all alone. No, 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 I won't." "Well," said little brother, "if you don't let me out, I will die here of sorrow." No, she had to let him out. But she said, and you come back home tonight, and I will lock the door because I don't want the hunters to come in here. And you have to knock on the door and say, "Hello, little sister, it's me, your brother." And unless you don't say that, I won't let you in. And little brother promised to do so. He joined the hunters, and when they saw him, they were behind him, but he was too quickly, too fast, and he just slid away and they couldn't get him. But the king was very amazed of that fawn with the golden garter. And well, little brother went home, knocked on the door, and said, "Hello, little sister, it's me, your brother." And little sister opened the door. The next time, the hunt was going on. And again, little brother insisted that she let him out. And again, she said, "I will only let you in when you say your password." And off he went. And the king was already looking out for him. And when he saw them, he tried to follow him, and all of the hunters tried to follow the little fawn, but again, it just slipped away and was disappeared. But it happened that one of the hunters was close to the house where the siblings lived, and he watched little brother coming home, knocking on the door and saying, "Hello, little sister, it's me, your brother, let me in." And then he watched the door opening a little bit and immediately closing behind the fawn. Now he went out to tell that to his king. And the king was very pleased and said, "Well, the next day, the same thing repeated. Little brother had to be let out. The horns were blown. And the king gave order to all of the hunters to follow that fawn, but to do him no harm. And then he asked the hunter to show him that house, where he knocked on the door and said, "Hello, little sister, it's me, your brother, let me in." And when little sister opened the door and saw the king instead of her brothers standing in front of her, she was very frightened. But the king was friendly and said, "Don't be afraid. I won't do you any harm." And he was so overwhelmed by her extraordinary beauty, of course, that he asked her to become his wife. And she agreed, but she said, "But only with my little fawn. The fawn has to come with me." "Oh, sure," said the king, "no problem. The fawn will have a very good life at my castle." So they were brought to the king's castle. The wedding was held, and little sister and the king were very happy, and the fawn was with them all the time. He had a place in front of the couple's bedroom, and well, everything was fine. And after a couple of months, the queen became pregnant and eventually gave birth to a little baby. And that happened just on a day when the king was out for hunting, a passionate hunter, obviously. Now, the stepmother, she had believed that little sister had been torn apart by the wild animals and that little brother had been shot by the hunters. And she was very upset when she learned that both of them were still alive, and even more that little sister had become queen. Now, this stepmother also had a daughter, and this daughter was angry and said, "Well, I should have become queen, not this nasty stepsister." "Oh, wait," said her mother. The problem was that her daughter was very, very ugly, and she only had one eye. So she said to her daughter, just wait, we'll do. And she went to the castle, transformed herself into a nurse as well as her daughter. And they went in there and um, came to the queen and told her, oh, you should have a bath. A bath will be good for you. We have already prepared it. And they helped her out of bed, carried her into the bathroom, but they had fired in very, very hot. And when the queen was laying in the bath, they locked the door from outside. And the queen, well, passed away from that heat and from the sulfur they had added to that fire. Now, when the king came home, the stepmother had already turned her own daughter into the shape of the queen, except this missing eye. She could not do anything there. So she had put the cap of the queen and the nightgown and had put her into the bed and said, well, lay on that side with the missing eye, so that he won't see that you only have one eye. And the king coming home, getting the good news of a baby having was born to him, he headed to his wife's bed and wanted to pull open the curtains, but the nurse stopped him and said, no, she shouldn't have too much light yet. She needs to be in peace, and don't touch her. Don't do anything. Don't go too close. And the king accepted that. Now, he did not realize he had the wrong bride in his bed, but the nurse who took care of the little baby, she watched something strange, because each night around midnight, when everybody in the castle was sound asleep, there came a woman into that room, took that baby, breastfed it, hugged it, and put it back into the cradle, and then went to the fawn, hugged it, and disappeared. That happened many times until one night when the queen came. She said, how is my child? How is my fawn? 3 more times I come, and then I'm gone. And the nurse went to the king and told him what she has seen and heard. And the king said, well, I will sit by the cradle tonight. And really, the queen came and she said, how is my child? How is my fawn? 2 more times I will come, and then I'm gone. And the king recognized his wife, but was so stunned that he couldn't move. But the next night, the last night, when the queen came and took her baby, he jumped up and said, well, you are my dear wife, aren't you? And she said, yes, I am. And in this moment, the color came back to her face and she was fully alive again. And now she told her husband what had happened, what the stepmother had done, and that he had her stepsister in his bed. And so the king brought them to court. And the court decided the daughter to be brought into the forest where the wild animals would tear her apart, and the mother to throw into the fire where she burned down to ashes. And in this moment, little brother regained his originally form. He became a man again. And brother and sister lived together very happily for many, many years. Yeah, this is a bit strange. So the first thing I was wondering was that golden garter. And for my German friends, it's a Strumpfband. I didn't know that either. A golden garter. And This is a very precious thing. I didn't even know there were golden garters, but obviously this precious thing was hidden under her dress, so nobody could see it. What a precious thing she was wearing under her probably poor dress. And the second thing that surprised me was that she had to bend her brother with a rope, that she didn't trust him, that she thought he might run away if she does not hold him on the rope now, since he is a fawn. And maybe she realized that there were these animal and male instincts coming through now since he was an animal, because she was the one who had heard her inner voice warning from these springs. He had not heard that. He just said, I'm thirsty, I want a drink. And this is a very, I think this is a more male attitude. And we can see that he was the one who decided, we will leave home. There is no life for us here, so we will go. He was the doer, the person who took activity and protected his little sister from this evil stepmother. So the two of them, they worked quite well together. Um, and that she was not so wrong with this fear of he might just follow his instincts, that we see when the horns, he hears the horns of the hunters. He has to go there. So this is very male. This hunting thing for many centuries has only been a male thing. Women did not hunt, as far as I know. Maybe there were some, but it was not the majority. It was not usual for women to go out for hunting. But little brother, even though he was a fawn, even though he knew he was would could easily become a victim of these hunters because they hunt fawns, he did not care. He just said, I want that. And little sister had to let him out. Yeah, the story with the false brides, we know them from quite some other fairy tales. And I always wonder that the kings don't realize that this is not their beloved wife. Um, how is that possible? In a fairy tale, it is, and maybe even in real life, who knows? Yeah, surprisingly, I couldn't find much explanation in the literature about the fairy tales. I couldn't find much about the symbols in these fairy tales. And this is surprising because it's a very well-known story. And we just learned that this subject has been uh, in stories from other countries, from other parts of the earth, that the transformed human transformed into an animal, that occurs in many stories worldwide. And well, at the end, we see little sister and little brother, female and male, living in balance. And I think this is the reason why the end of the story is, and little sister and little brother lived happily together. The king, I don't know, he's not mentioned. He's probably still there, but these two things, male and female, they are balanced and they are happy together now. This is the message of that story. So thank you for listening. Give me a thumb and goodbye.